No one on the crew understood why Sam and Caitriona had avoided each other's eyes for the entire launch of their new project, a big-budget romance that had just been secretly launched. They both showed up on time, professionally, but they didn't talk like before. There was no more off-script banter, nor the familiar eye contact. 3 months ago, in the middle of a busy promotional schedule, a simmering argument broke out. A small misunderstanding over text messages, an unannounced dinner for three, an inadvertent remark on television, and that was the beginning of a silent distance. The two decided to unplug for a while, thinking it would soon subside. But the longer the silence, the more their egos grew. Thinking they could avoid each other for a few months until the new schedule, they didn't expect a joint call from the producer to turn everything upside down. "You two are irreplaceable. Either sign together, or the project will be postponed indefinitely." It wasn't just a role, it was an international project with a thorny theme. A couple who were once deeply in love but had to reunite under forced circumstances. Ironically, both had secretly signed a private agreement before the conflict occurred. No one could back out. On the first day of reading the script, Sam sat at the head of the table, Caitriona chose the farthest corner opposite. The whole room felt the tension. A young assistant whispered. They used to work together more naturally than in real life. Now they look like two different universes. The meeting ended, everyone went back to their rooms. But surprisingly, the main director invited both of them to stay, closing the door. He calmly looked back and forth. "I don't care what you two are angry about. But this project will only succeed if it has the right energy that drove the audience crazy. If you two don't pull the emotions back." He stood up, his hand placed on the thick stack of scripts in front of them. "You have to create it yourself. No matter what." Sam looked away, Caitriona clenched the paper. The atmosphere was thick. They knew there was no way to back out. But how could they act out a passionate love when in real life they were avoiding each other step by step? And then something, fallen from the sky, happened. In the schedule, they discovered they had to stay at the same resort villa of the crew to conveniently film the pre-production content. A magnificent place, far from the city, private and only the two of them there. On the first night, the sound of the door closing behind each person seemed to mark the beginning of a silent war. And the producer was just waiting to see, when real feelings and the script intersected, what would explode first. The villa is located in the middle of a green hill, both luxurious and quiet enough for even the smallest sound to be heard clearly. As soon as they entered, Sam and Caitriona did not need to agree to secretly choose two rooms at either end of the hallway, as if afraid that the other's breath would touch their private space. On the first morning, the whole crew was only given one task: to read the lines, film a few foreground scenes to test their interactions. No one thought that the two actors who had breathed together on screen could not look at each other for more than 5 seconds like now. In the large living room, the round table was filled with versions of the script. Sam arrived early, sat with his arms crossed, looking out the glass door, and Caitriona walked in with a cup of hot tea, looking calm but her eyes lowered when she saw him. Not a word of greeting. Just the sound of paper turning and the sound of spoons touching the glass. The director stepped in, not beating around the bush. "Let's start the third scene. You two have to act out the scene where the characters have just reunited after many years of being separated. No need to act deeply. Just read the lines and look at each other." A simple request, but it was like placing 2 blocks of ice opposite the fire. The test scene had no official cameras, just a few post-production cameras recording wide angles. Sam stood against the pillar, Caitriona walked forward according to the stage direction. But as soon as their eyes accidentally met, she immediately turned away, causing the director to frown. "Cut. It's the character who's in a difficult situation, not the actors avoiding each other." He said that in a voice as soft but sharp as a thin knife. Sam exhaled, stepped closer, and lowered his voice. "Just a test, just get it done." Caitriona didn't answer, just nodded. The second time, she looked up, but instead of looking into his eyes, she looked over her shoulder. Sam laughed coldly, almost uncontrollably. Is it really that hard to even act? She turned around, this time her gaze like a steel blade. If you can act, then act. Don't comment on other people's abilities. The director silently observed, not stopping the scene. The camera was still running. Sam took another step, the distance was less than an arm's length. The dialogue in the script read, I didn't think we would meet again, especially in this situation. Sam read that sentence, but his voice was strangely low, almost not dialogue but real words. Caitriona was momentarily stunned, the hand holding the script unconsciously tightened. She answered incorrectly. I also didn't think I would have to stand in front of you again. 2 seconds of silence, then the director said loudly, keep it as is. Their own adaptation is even better than the written version. Continue. The whole day, the rereading scenes were no longer acting, but more like dialogue wrapped in dialogue. No one but them knew that every word, every breath had hidden scratches. Night fell, the crew left the villa, leaving only 2 people behind as planned. Dinner was prepared in the kitchen, but each person took a portion and brought it back to their room. No one spoke. It seemed that everything would be peaceful until late at night when the first incident occurred. A local power outage, the lights were completely off, the backup system in the common area was only dimly lit. Sam had just finished showering, her hair still wet. She stepped out into the hallway to check and saw a dim yellow light coming from the kitchen. Caitriona stood there, her hair tied up, wearing a thin shirt, searching for candles. I thought there was a generator, she said without turning around. Sam leaned against the doorframe. Yes, but the system reported an error since this afternoon and no one has resolved it yet. She did not answer. He walked over and opened the drawer beside her to help her get the matchbox. Seeing that the old matchbox was almost empty, he clicked his tongue. Give it here. Caitriona tried to hold it but eventually let go, just because she didn't want to touch him. Sam lit a match, the small light shining on both of their faces, unintentionally bringing the distance close enough to hear each other's breathing. Her voice dropped a beat. Don't look at me like we're still close. Sam put out the half-burned match, put the candle on the kitchen table. I was just looking. It's not against the rules. She chuckled lightly. As if you've never broken the rules before. The air was thick. The sound of the night rain had just started to fall outside, each drop tapping on the glass roof. He was about to say something but didn't. She was about to turn away but stopped because her foot slipped slightly on the wet stone floor. Sam reflexively grabbed her shoulder. Just a few seconds, but enough to make both of their hearts skip a beat that neither of them wanted to admit. Caitriona removed his hand, stepped back, her voice so small it was almost like she was talking to herself. We still have to continue filming tomorrow. At that time, don't do anything that makes me remember. Sam didn't ask, remember what, because he wasn't sure he wanted to hear it either. She turned away first, leaving the candlelight flickering and an unnameable feeling. And from that small moment, the emotions began to crack, but not in the way they had planned, but in a way the script could have taken full advantage of.